AM 1460, the new WXBR. You were listening to the Metro South Morning Show. Peter Zimbor and Mike Pava here with you this morning. On Sunday, August the 25th at 9 a.m. at DW Fields Park, Level Runner Magazine brings to the City of Champions a road race, and here to talk about it from Level Runner Magazine is one of the event organizers, Kevin Gorman. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, Peter. How are you?
I'm doing well. Normally when we mention road race organizers in Brockton, we're talking to your father, Dave Gorman. You're getting in on the family business, getting in this territory a little bit at DW Fields Park.
Well, we're working together on it. He's helping me out.
Tell us how this event came to be August 25th, and tell us exactly what its purpose is.
Okay, well, a couple years ago, I started an online running magazine called Level Runner, and one of the things that we try to promote is, competitive events, and we cover them, but we've been growing enough to try hosting one for ourselves. So it was kind of the brainchild of me and one of the guys that I work with on the magazine. His name's Eric Narcissi, and we thought, if we're going to do a road race, let's bring it to the City of Champions. Let's bring it to Brockton. We have some. I've had lots of experience running in Brockton. My dad can help me out, and so far we've been having a good time planning it.
Once again, we're chatting with Kevin Gorman here on AM 1460, the new WXBR, talking about the road race taking place August 25th, Sunday morning at DW Fields Park in Brockton. Registration begins at 9 a.m. How long is this road race? I've seen there be 2.2-mile courses for the kids at DW Fields Park. I've seen there be that, I think, 4.4 miles if you go all the way around. There's been 5K, 10K. How long is this race?
It's going to be 10K. We just measured it this morning. We were out there on the wheel measure and out hitting it up. So
that sounds tedious.
Yeah, it was. It took much longer than we thought, but it's going to be a very accurate course for the runners. So part of what we're trying to do here is make it an optimal race experience for both competitive and recreational runners alike. So it's going to be very accurate with the mile markers, with the splits, with the times. It's going to be a first-class event. And
you mentioned that it is a 10K race. For those of you who are not familiar with the metric system, 6.1 miles, right?
6.214. We just measured it, so 6.214.
We're chatting with Kevin Gorman here on AM 1460, the new WXBR, talking about the road race happening at DW Fields Park Sunday, August 25th. You mentioned two types of runners just a moment ago, recreational runners and competitive runners. You work with Level Runner Magazine. I have to assume that you're more of the competitor runner as opposed to recreational. Who are you hoping to attract with this particular race?
Our audience is both. We've created an experience for both recreational and competitive runners alike. The competitive runners, we're going to have a prize purse available, offering some prize money for some of the top racers, and we have some great athletes that we've pulled in to attend the event. We're going to have Ruben Sanka there, who was a 2012 Olympian. So he ran the 5K over in London for his homeland, Cabo Verde. So he'll be there. We have a bunch of other regional elites coming. There's some really fast women coming down from Maine, and just a host of other runners that are going to be there. And so we'll have, the prize money obviously available for competitive runners, but for the recreational runners, we have lots of amenities that we think will make them happy. We'll have lots of water out on the course. Like I said earlier, we have an accurately measured course, and we have lots of goodies post race as well, which is always nice.
What's the purse money for the winners of the event?
About $240 for first prize, $120 for second, $60 for third. And we have we do something that's a little bit rare, and we have prize money for the Masters crowd, which is 40 and over. So we're giving it $120 for the winner there, $60 for second place, and a gift certificate to a run specialty shop for third place.
So, with all due respect to the Jingle Bell Run, where a bunch of people dress up like the Grinch and Santa hats and run, this is more competitive than fun runs that you see around the city of Brockton more often than not.
I think there'll be a lot of serious runners there, dressed in singlets as opposed to Santa costumes for sure, trying to run as fast as they can. And that's something that we're trying to promote, whether you're competing against yourself, trying to beat your previous best time, or competing against a local rival, or even just competing against the clock. We're going to provide that experience for everybody. And another thing that we're trying to do also is just really shine a a positive spotlight on the city of Brockton. Brockton is nicknamed the City of Champions, so we're trying to bring a first-class event to the city to really showcase, not only the beauty of DW Field Park, but all the good things going on in the city.
There have been a slew of other road races in Brockton and in surrounding communities lately that have appealed to a number of different crowds. What do you think of these road races like the Color Me Rad road race, which was held a few weeks ago, where I'm not exactly sure of how this happens, but when people are finished with the road race, they're doused in different colors and look like a rainbow?
Yeah, so that seems to be a recent fad that's going on these days, where people pay a lot of money to, run a race where they're like spray painted with colors and things like that. And not totally against it if it gets people out there running where they otherwise would be sedentary, but for I think a lot of the hardcore old school runners, I think they kind of look at it and chuckle a little bit that it's kind of just a gimmick or a fad, and why would you pay money to get spray painted with color or something like that?
Does anyone of serious running contention participate in any of those races, or is it just kind of a fun run for hot 20-somethings, which is what I saw there?
Yeah, I don't think any really competitive, serious runner that's doing 100 miles a week is going to attend an event like that.
There have been some other events that are kind of gimmicky, but they do seem to attract some fairly competitive runners. Isn't there like a rock and roll marathon somewhere and whatnot?
Yeah, the Rock and Roll Marathon series is, I think, put on by Competitor, which is a national magazine. And even though they're called the Rock and Roll Marathons, they're pretty serious events. They just feature like music at every mile marker or something like that to keep the runners pumped up and motivated.
I have to say that music probably helps you.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts. I think the only way that it hurts you is that if you get pumped up too much too early, and then when the music stops, you don't have anything left in the tank, and that's happened before.
Or if you get like a depressing Michael Bolton song at 1 mile.
I haven't heard any of those at any of the races, but there's a lot of debate about music and running and wearing iPods and listening to your iPhone or whatever while running, and some people really swear by it and think it helps out a lot. Other people think it takes away from kind of the connection you have with the experience of running, which can be very transcendental almost. And so there's a lot of people out there that think keep the headphones away. Let me just kind of have this experience with nature. If you're out there trail running and things like that, that you wouldn't have if you're listening to a drum machine at 120 beats a minute.
Once again, we're chatting with Kevin Gorman here on AM 1460, the new WXBR, organizing a road race taking place Sunday, August 25th at DW Fields Park in Brockton. You work with Level Runner magazine. First off, you spell runner in a peculiar way that if I were to tell someone to Google Level Runner magazine, they probably wouldn't find it based on how you spell runner.
That's true. We spell runner with 2 E's instead of a U, so it's Renner. And we do that for a couple reasons. One, we kind of look at ourselves as an old school magazine. Our tagline is that we're a journal of running for the old school literary athlete. So runner is also a little bit literary because it's that's how it was spelled in archaic English. So author like Chaucer would spell runner with the E instead of the U. So that's kind of a tip of the cap to the scholarly side of things. And also level runner, if you look at it, both the words level and runner are palindromes, so they look the same ways forward as in backwards. And
you really thought this through.
We thought it through a little bit. Most people hate the name Level Runner, and they say, Level Runner, what's that? Why isn't Level Runner? And, I get that, but once you explain the story to them, they're like, I guess I get that.
Does it confuse people the first time? However, like I said, a Google search must be impossible.
Yeah, so that's also plays into a bit of the underground vibe that we have, where if you just Google search Level Runner, I don't think you'd find it. But if you're in the know, which hopefully everybody is now, that Level Runner, then you'll get to our site no problem. So, and when you get to the site, we say, welcome to the underground. You found us. Congratulations.
What is the distribution for Level Runner magazine, and how do folks subscribe?
Okay, the subscription's really easy. It's a free digital magazine, so all you have to do is go on our website, levelrunner.com. Remember, that's all E's. And on the right sidebar, you'll see just put your name and email address, and we'll email you once a month every time an issue comes out. So it's pretty easy. And, our following is getting bigger, literally getting bigger by the day. So we have, thousands of people reading the magazine now.
LevelRunnerMagazine.com, but it looks like LevelRunnerMagazine.com, RENNER, correct?
Yep, LevelRunner.com. You got it.
What is the running community like here in the South Shore of Massachusetts and even New England as a whole? Is there a lot of hardcore competitive runners, or is it more or less these people doing these recreational fun runs from time to time?
It's both. It's definitely both. There's people out there running, 10 or 15 miles a week. There's people out there running 120 miles a week. So, part of the purpose of the magazine is to really put a spotlight on all the people out there that are working hard, that are, running 100 miles a week and getting up at 4 a.m. to do a speed workout while also managing the stresses of a career. And just thought that that's pretty cool that people are doing that with their lives instead of, going home and watching TV every night till it's time to go to bed, and just getting in work and trying to improve themselves, trying to make themselves better. And part of the purpose of the magazine and this race is to kind of showcase that. And we don't think that should all go for naught. We think some people should be recognized for the type of work that they're doing.
Once again, we're chatting with Kevin Gorman. Road race August 25th at DW Fields Park. Registration begins at 9 a.m. in the morning. You mentioned earlier you have some Olympians and whatnot coming down for this event. Is there any favorites to win or place in this particular race?
Well, anytime there's an Olympian in the event, he's probably going to be the favorite. So I'd say right now, Ruben Sank would be the favorite. He's run some really great times recently. He came in second at a race in Carver just the other day, and he ran 24 minutes.
Is he from around here?
He went to school in UMass Lowell, and he lives up on the North Shore now, but he's traveling down for the event. So I think he's going to be one of the favorites for sure. I think the women's race is pretty much wide open at this point, so the money's certainly up for grabs. And who knows what will happen on race day? We're still a couple weeks out for the event. A lot of times some of the elite runners wait till the last minute to enter just because they're working on race schedules and training and things like that. One of the things that I did want to mention, though, is we're going to be renewing a rivalry of sorts. I was talking to Tim Irving, who's from Waltham, Massachusetts, and he contacted me about renewing the Waltham-Brockton rivalry. Now, anybody who has lived in Brockton for any number of years...
There might be fisticuffs on top of racing is what you're saying.
Yes, that might just happen. Hope not. We do have a police detail at the race, so hopefully they'll be able to keep the Brockton-Waltham people in line. But as everybody knows, that was a long-standing Thanksgiving Day morning football rivalry. So now we're bringing it back here at the streets of Brockton, DW Field Park. Tim from Waltham is working on bringing down a cadre of people from Waltham to come run on our turf, and we're working on getting a group from Brockton, and we're going to see who the 5 fastest people are from each city, and I guess they will hold the trophy at the end of the day for being the winning the rivalry of being the fastest city in the Waltham-Brockton renewed rivalry.
Those football games on Thanksgiving morning between Brockton and Waltham always get a bit chippy and sometimes just flat out of control. Hopefully the runners can contain their emotions a little bit more than the high school football players.
Well, there might be a few elbows on the starting line, but they have 6 miles to kind of space out, and hopefully I'm rooting for Brockton, of course, so hopefully we'll be ahead, and they'll just be trying to catch us.
We're chatting with Kevin Gorman here on AM 1460, the new WXBR, organizing a road race August 25th at DW Fields Park. Kevin, more often than not, you're the person running in the road race as opposed to organizing it. Will you be participating as a runner in this race on top of organizing it?
I would love to, but I think I want to stay on the ground as just the director to try to, put out any fires that inevitably are going to happen, at different spots.
Break up Brockton Waltham
right.
fights.
Yeah, exactly. You get that right. So, usually road races don't have referees, but we might need one for this one. Keep things in order. But I just want to stay on the ground and make sure everything is going smoothly. I'd feel awful if something happened and I was out there running instead of trying to help somebody out.
You've been a competitive runner for some time. What's your best marathon time? I know you've done a few.
Yeah, I've done a few marathons. I went down to Philadelphia a couple years ago and ended up running 2:36. So that's my PR right now. I'm pretty happy with that. Always trying to improve, though.
What's your favorite course to run, whether it be a marathon, a 10K, or another type of road race?
Well, I always like running at DW's Field Park. I've been doing it since I was a kid, so that's one of my my favorite places to run. I also like running on trails a lot. I just really think it saves the legs to get off the hard pavement just for training, because you do most of your racing on the roads. But in terms of favorite races, I'm kind of like I have Tom Brady's philosophy with that one. My favorite race is usually the next one. I just am always looking forward to the next race instead of kind of looking back and being nostalgic about past performances.
Did you run the Boston Marathon, this most recent marathon?
I did not. I did not run the Boston Marathon. I was out there covering it for the magazine, though, and it was kind of a very surreal experience. We were in a couple different spots. We weren't down at the finish line. We were covering it down on Boylston Street, probably not Boylston Street. We were probably down a few miles further, down more by Cleveland Circle, and we didn't really know what had gone on, because you're out there on the ground covering the event. And I just remember trying to get back to our car on the way home, trying to get back home, and we were not allowed to cross the street. And I've been going to the marathon since I was a kid, and every intersection we went up to, the police officer said, you cannot cross the street. You cannot cross the street. And I just, this is crazy. The race had gone on long enough that it was that the runners were certainly spaced out far enough, and still they would not let us cross anywhere. So we had to walk a couple miles to go all the way around. Finally, we crossed the street, get in the car, and got a phone call from my parents, and they're just asking where I was. And my dad said, turn on the radio. I did. Couldn't believe what I heard.
So word hadn't got out just yet as to what had happened.
No.
Were people becoming unruly, saying, why can't we cross the street?
Not really unruly. I was down by, at that point, walked down to the BC area, and at that point, everybody's had a couple pops by then, so everybody's just a little bit crazy. And things were winding down, but the police weren't saying why we couldn't cross the road, but certainly weren't letting us. And then, after the fact, once you get in the car, I find out, and then things come together, and it just seemed like all of a sudden there was a lot more police around, and but didn't know why. Didn't really put it together at the time, but looking back at it, he said, "Oh, I guess that's why."
You gave us your personal record for marathons in general. What's your personal record for the Boston Marathon, and how many times have you run it?
Boston hasn't been good to me, unfortunately. Best Boston time was, I think, 2:52, and I think I've done it 3 times, so maybe 4 times. I can't remember. I did it back in the early 2000s. So that's a tough course. It's a tough course. I know it has a net elevation loss, but it's pretty tough because those first 4 miles of screeching downhill, they kill the quads, and then if you go too fast, you're left for dead on those hills. Heartbreak Hill itself isn't too bad, but combined with those other, with the elevation loss at the beginning, what that does to your quads, it's killer placement.
So what's the best strategy when it comes to running the Boston Marathon?
I'd say go out conservatively and try to run even splits, because your adrenaline is just sky high at the beginning of that race. Couple that with a downhill start for the first few miles, it just sucks you in to go out so much faster than you're capable of, and that's happened to me a few times where, you just feel so good. You're saying to yourself, I cannot possibly run any slower than this. I'm running as slow as I can, but it'll come back and bite you big time. Got to be very disciplined out there.
Is there any course that you've run that, in retrospect, you just wish you hadn't done it because it was such a miserable experience due to the elements and due to the certain features of that particular course?
I've done a couple courses that have been just monsters. They're pretty famous. I wouldn't say I would never do them again, but at the time I had finished and said, I'm never doing that again. One, I ran this race up in Derry, New Hampshire. It's called the Boston Prep 16 Mile. I ran that in a snowstorm in shorts and a singlet. That was pretty stupid. I froze that one. It took me a good 2 weeks.
The body
to
heat didn't
de-thaw.
come into play?
No, it really didn't, to be honest with you. And then another tough race is the Stew Chase out in Central Mass, out by Worcester, and that was another just really cold run, up and down the Hoe for 30 kilometers, so that was pretty tough too.
Once again, we're chatting with Kevin Gorman here on AM 1460, the new WXBR. He has a road race August 25th at DW Fields Park as part of Level Runner magazine. Registration begins at 9 a.m. on that Sunday morning, August the 25th. DW Fields Park, for some people, I'm sure for you it's a breeze considering all your running experience, but for some people, Tower Hill is the equivalent of Heartbreak Hill when you have to get to that finish line. And the finish line's always in the same spot at DW Fields Park, no matter what the course is, it seems.
That's true. It's an iconic finish, up the hill and down, up the hill, and then you're done. So it's going up that hill. If you make it up to the top, the finish line's right there, so you can almost see your reward. Little known thing about DW Field Park is that even though the hill looks ominous and can be intimidating, basically all the park's elevation comes in that one hill. So I still think the course is pretty fast, because if you get up that hill, that's about 200 feet of elevation, but then you have the whole rest of the loop to have a nice slight downhill and just let the momentum take you. So I think it can be a deceptively fast course despite the looming nature of Tower Hill.
Now, is this going to be the first of what you hope to be many road races that Level Runner magazine puts on in Brockton and surrounding communities?
Yeah, we hope it's the start of a new tradition here in Brockton, the Level Runner 10K for sure. And part of our mission too is to give back to the community. So we're donating a portion of the proceeds to youth running programs, namely the Kids Road Races, which if anybody from Brockton knows, that's been a long-standing Saturday morning race for kids, only costs $1. So to help defray some of those costs, we're donating some of our proceeds from the race to the Kids Road Race program.
And I ran those races week in, week out in the fall and spring when I was growing up here in Brockton. Did you know that years ago, and we might be going back 100 years ago, there was a marathon at the Brockton Fair as part of the Brockton Fair festivities? Do you think something like that will ever come to the area again, or is that just a pipe dream?
I think we're bringing it to the area this year. It's certainly not the distance of a marathon, but we're trying to really create a wonderful, positive atmosphere for the city of Brockton. The race on the 25th is certainly going to be the marquee event, but we really want to to showcase all the good things that are happening in Brockton. This is just one small thing as part of that.
Well, once again, it's Level Runner magazine. The event is Sunday, August 25th at DW Fields Park. Registration gets underway at 9 a.m. Can folks pre-register?
Yeah, they can. If they go right on to the Level Runner website, they will see a tab for the Level Runner 10K road race. Click on that tab. There's tons of race information there, and also a link you can register directly from there.
And that's Level Runner magazine, Level, Level, Runner spelt oddly at Renner, so levelrunner.com. Kevin, I thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning. Any final words for our listeners before I let you go about Level Runner magazine or this forthcoming road race?
Level Runner magazine, just run on the ground and read the underground. That's our slogan. Also, about the race, if you could show up right around 8 o'clock, an hour before, to get all the registration done out of the way. And I'd also like to just thank a lot of our local sponsors who have helped us out to make the race possible. Bernardi Auto Group has stepped forward, along with McCall's Ambulance Service, Walgreens, Eastern Bank, Harbor One Bank. So we've had a lot of people really step forward to help us out, and I want to thank them as well.
That's Kevin Gorman joining us here on AM 1460, the new WXBR Level Runner magazine. 10K August 25th at DW Fields Park. You're listening to the Metro South Morning Show. Peter Zimbor here with you. We're going to step aside for a quick breather. When we return, Mike Pava joins us from the WXBR newsroom with a local news update. Stick with us.